I'm Coach Dave. Welcome back to Coach's Corner.
Come on.
All right, welcome to Coach's Corner. The last time we had this gentleman here, he was coming to us from the jungles of Costa Rica. He is now transplanted as a Danbury staple now. We have, my good friend and coach, Gareth McCloskey from FarmStrength. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate you. I know you got training and stuff going on, busy day, but we definitely wanted to have you back here on Coach's Corner today and kind of talk about, there's a couple of things we want to talk about. Obviously what you're doing now, your transition from Costa Rica to Danbury, why, when, and how. And you know what? We want to get into a little bit about what we've been talking about being bulletproof. But let's kind of start with, you've made the transition from Costa Rica, been here since December. Now you're running FarmStrength out of Champs Boxing. Tell us what brought you back.
I was in Costa Rica. I lived there for 3 years in Uvita, so it's southwest Costa Rica, near a small village called Dominical. I was down there with my girlfriend, and she was on a work contract, and that contract allowed her to work remotely, so it kind of was coming to an end. FarmStrength itself was in a period where it needed to grow, so it did. So I had spent 3 years working between Capos and Hermosa Boxing Camp, just volunteering my time, and then working with fighters that you guys would send down, doing training camps. But with me being so remote, I found that I was also at a point where my company needed to expand and grow. So with everything coming to a head, basically, with our lives down there, we were kind of wondering where to go next. And with having previously worked with yourself and AJ Galante over at Champs Boxing, you guys were the first people that I thought of right away. So, I reached out to you, and I was well aware of the strength and conditioning area that you guys had over there. And, me and you both spoke over the phone about me potentially coming to Danbury and growing FarmStrength. I then spoke to AJ. I got his support and blessing. So the decision was made for me to come here. So I'm extremely grateful, to you and to AJ for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, but just to jump in here, look, for people who don't know Coach Gareth and what FarmStrength is about, look, I've experienced it firsthand, which we'll talk about a little bit later, my journey with you personally now. But from a coach's standpoint and from working with fighters, first of all, being in Costa Rica was definitely something for our fighters to experience that type of training and to work with you and to see what you were capable of doing, firsthand with our fighters. Your unique style of training is something that, and we'll get into this about bulletproofing yourself, is your ability to bring out the best in people. And Coach Gareth is not your traditional trainer that you're going to find in these gyms. And I'm not going to name the gyms or shit on anybody, but he is an out-of-the-box type of thinker and, a real focused trainer who does his homework and research and tailors his programs towards the individuals. So definitely to have him here, not only as a friend, but also to work with our fighters or any of our athletes is, I personally think, a game changer.
Danbury has now opened doors for me. I moved here December 12th. I have worked with the local professional hockey team players from the Danbury Hat-Tricks.
Yeah.
I now have I'm currently working with 4 professional fighters. I've worked with Aman Lee in preparation for his last fight there in Foxwood Casino.
Yeah, and just on Aman Lee has been chosen to go to Riyadh for that tournament with the 32 WBC tournament, which he'll be leaving also.
A top class professional,
Yeah.
like top class professional.
And we saw jump back in, with Aman. Like, look, you had just met Aman, you have known of him. I've seen Aman evolve from an amateur to a pro, and that last fight and the performance he put in, look, with your help, you could see how he's starting to slowly improve physically and growing into being a top professional.
Yeah, he's such a top professional that if you can contribute 1 degree to assisting him, that it's going to produce magnificent results. So I was working with a man. I'm now working with Ali and Finale Jr. Feliz.
Feliz, yes.
And I still work remotely with Josiah Giles, a 7-0 fighter from Richmond, Virginia. So I do. So mixture of pro athletes and then various, yourself included, various clients.
Yeah, we'll talk about let's talk about Richmond, because that is also a connection from Costa Rica, Richmond, Danbury, sort of triangle of where you started. We have Ian over there, Patterson running the Richmond Boxing Club over there, and he is, the times we've spent talking on the phone, is just a real big advocate of boxing and a very, very, very good coach. Has a national champion.
Yeah.
Young national champion, what, 5-6-time national champion?
He's a 4-time national champion.
4-time.
Isaiah Rodriguez, he's 11 years old.
Yeah.
3 years ago, Ian started a non-profit boxing gym out of his 2-car garage. He contacted me immediately to assist with the virtual coaching for the strength and conditioning for these kids. So,
I mean, even when you were in Costa Rica, I know you're doing virtual coaching here, but you were doing that. And then obviously when you're here in the States, you make time to go there.
Yeah, well, every Tuesday, Thursday night, I still jump online at 6:45, and I go into that gym, via the internet. It started with 1 kid. It has now grown to 5 or 6 kids. We do not charge. It is all volunteer work. We run a very, very strict regime. You have to earn your stay in that gym.
Yeah, well, Ian's running it out of his house, and if you look at some of the videos on their Instagram and on their fighters, it is a small place out of his garage, already producing, 1 national champion 4 times at 11 years old. Josiah is
7-0.
7-0 as a pro right now. He's been with Ian and, everybody else going through that program. But, Ian is my way or the highway type of coach.
Correct.
And you know what? His time is, vested in you if you want it. And obviously the results are paying off right now with Josiah and his young champion right there.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But, it's, as I say, he runs such a strict regime that pretty much people weed themselves out of there if they don't survive the first month. Most likely they were never going to cut it as a fighter anyway.
Yeah.
So they weren't. So it gets very, very tough, very, very fast. But the kids that do hang on tend to become very, very good.
Yeah. I mean, you see that right now with his fighters and the way he's building up with them. And, in a tough spot where it's not a big fight town. There's not. He has to travel at times.
Yeah, he's up and down the road every Saturday to DC with these kids to get high level sparring. He's in Norfolk, Virginia with them regularly. He's a good soul, man, and he's good for the sport.
No, definitely. I love talking to him. His passion and the way he coaches is second to none, and you can see the success in his program. So, you've been exposed to all of this now in the fight game, over 30 fights. You've worked over 30 fights at the professional level, working with high-level amateurs. Now, some of the fighters here, some of the amateurs here. What is your theory? Now, we talk about bulletproofing athletes and people and personal lives, and we've heard the stories through Goggins and other motivators and everything else. What do you think it takes for athletes, personable people, to buy into what you're doing? Okay? I shouldn't say, let me take that back. Not to buy in, that what you're doing makes the difference in them as an athlete. Because, traditionally, I've trained my whole life. When I've watched some of the stuff that you've done, it's a little out of the ordinary. It's more, we go back to the name FarmStrength, push, pull, what you do on a farm, basic movements, magnified. But what do you think it takes for someone to really buy into it, into your system, into your training?
It's, the whole FarmStrength, I've told you before, goes back to, it's a nod to my Irish heritage, my grandparents. But if you think about everything that embodies, that is getting up every day, consistently working, no excuses. You think, and then think beyond the consistency of working every day. Farmers tend to eat their own crops. So disciplined diet, okay? They have to wake up at 5 a.m. There's no excuses. So you've been working with me, I'm 4:30 up.
Yeah.
You get a text message from me at 4:45. So it's you get up and you embody the life of discipline. You watch what you eat, and then we cover everything from the hard physical training to the running to breath work to mobility. And then we always go back to the basis of rotational strength, which farmers do on the regular. Should it be digging, shoveling, swinging an axe, swinging a sledgehammer? I incorporate a lot of that into my training. When I do a workout plan, I literally envision chopping wood at the bottom of a field, packing like a truck, and then hauling that truck up, and just mimicking what life on a farm actually is like. Now you see how I do my conditioning setups, and that's what I'm trying to recreate. On top of that, I'm covering we mentioned bulletproof in the body, and that is the original strength movements. So rocking, rolling, crawling, and letting the brain know that these movements are safe. And as we get older, we get so far away from these movements that we have to revisit them. So we do. So for a farmer or for a fighter to buy into my method is like I embody discipline. I'm very, very strict. You be there, you be on time. We get to work. And everybody that I've worked with so far buys into it.
Do you think in the beginning they're skeptical about what the training is? Because to most people, if you walk in and you start training with you, a lot of these guys and women have not seen these type of exercises that you're talking about. And, firsthand, as we get older and our movements get limited, we have to, like you said, revisit it. But some of the athletes, these athletes, they're informed. They're on the internet. They're doing research. They've worked with other trainers. Now you got a guy coming into your facility and you got him carrying sandbags and you got him crawling on the floor. You got him stretching a certain way, band work and not using a lot of weight, certain movements, drills, stations to stations. What do you think? Do they look at you and say, "Hey, holy shit, what are we doing here?"
A lot of people are intimidated for sure because they measure me on my I kind of stage my program that one day a week is a high intense, conditioning workout. So of course, when people leave the gym, they'll be like, "Man, that was a tough day in there," and your reputation kind of hinges on that. But
Yeah.
you can't drive with or go with full throttle all the time. So you can't. So I'm happy enough that people have that kind of are intimidated by it, because if I am training a fighter, sometimes you're pushing for something a little deeper, that little extra, especially on those, level 4 conditioning days, if you want to call it that, where you're really pushing hard. You're trying to get into the psyche of the fighter, trying to squeeze that extra 1-2% out of them that's going to make a difference come fight night. So people do get slightly intimidated by it, but when they get in, and you start off with the basics, because I'm not just trying to teach you to be fit for tomorrow. I'm trying to teach you to go into old life, that if you slip and fall, you know how to get off the ground. You know how to roll over on your chest. You know how to push back up into a rock position. You know how to climb up. So, training an athlete is fine, but training someone to go beyond their athletic career is also always in the back of my mind. So it is, so that if you think I've been in Danbury, 16, 17 weeks now, right?
16. We
yeah.
started week 16 this week with my training with you.
Yeah, so 7 out of 10 clients suffer sciatic issues, and that goes from pro athletes right down to gentlemen your age, to ladies coming in, and it is all due to the sedentary lifestyle that we're all living. How do I know? Because I had sciatic myself.
Listen, and speaking, from the same thing, prior to you being here, I suffered with sciatica, shoulder pain. Look, even though holding mitts and working with fighters and training, my body forgot a lot of things. As we've seen, from when I first started training with you, my movements that, we think are there, they're not there anymore. And they're slowly slipping away. The longer you let it sit, the further it gets out and the harder it is to bring it back. I mean, look, we've talked, you and I, and, I'm a big advocate, not only because I've seen what you've done with fighters and athletes that we've worked together with, but what you've done with me, okay? Whereas my whole life as an athlete, man, my hamstrings are movable now. They're finally at a point like, I read a thing online where people with tight hamstrings, it's not your hamstrings are tight. Okay. You're not conditioning them, and it's just, my movement, like you talk about, back movement, shoulder movement, being able to look, man, when I first came to you, I couldn't get up off the floor. If I went down on the floor, if I didn't have something to help, I couldn't get off the floor. So, we're 16 weeks in with my journey. I understand it because, and the other part is, look, I knew I had to do something for myself. I knew I was just slowly getting out there, and then I had to do something drastic. And, you being here definitely helped me with that, and it gives me a different perspective. So, yes, we see it with an athlete, and I know you're working with a lot of individuals who aren't really athletes right now, but, have suffered other injuries or, weight gain or whatever you want to call throughout their journey that now are working with you.
It's, in my humble opinion, one of the next major problems coming at us as a species is lower back issues. We're sitting in this, we're sitting in this forward position. We basically sleep in the fetal position. We sit in the fetal position. So some people are spending 16 plus hours a day.
Yeah, well, you have people that are behind desks working on computers. If they're not working, they're working on their computer at home. They're on their phone. They're in the car. We commute longer than we used to. You're constantly in that position where you're sitting.
So it's a shortening of the hip flexors, a rounding of the neck. And so, I focus a lot on, again, I go back to like the crawling, the rolling, the rocking. You know yourself, you're going to do a lot of crawling with me, a lot of bear crawling, to try and try and relearn that posture, try and let the brain know that that's a safe position for you to be in. So I have a lot of that, wrapped into my program. Some people may not be aware of it, but it is in there, and that's the method behind my madness. I do forecast this happening. I have a doctor as one of my clients, and that's something I've been helping him with, is with lower back issues, tightness of the lower back, reteaching posture of the lower back. So it all goes back to this original strength that I talk about. This is not an idea that's solely mine. I read a book by Tim Anderson, Mike McInnes called Becoming Bulletproof, and fantastic read if you can get your hands on it. Very, very short book, and it really hit home with me about the importance of these movements that we have to revisit. And I like to say to a lot of my clients, like, one of the most difficult things you ever done in your life was you taught yourself how to walk. Someone put you on the ground, on your back. You taught yourself how to roll over. You pushed yourself up into a rocking position. You eventually figured out how to pull yourself up, and then you figured out your balance and you went walking. And if you look at an elderly person now, they fall on their back, and they're kind of like a beetle. They fall on their back and they don't know how to.
As soon as, that's if they don't break their hip.
That's if they don't break their hip, and then they're stuck.
Well, you look at it. Look, I'm going to talk from firsthand experience here. Okay, on this, like, all the things you're talking about, right? As like, look, I'm 62 years old. All right, I want to be in better shape. Part of the reason, actually, all of the reason I'm working with Coach G, because look, I'm hands-on when I work with my fighters. I don't work from the outside. I work from the inside out. And I can feel stability slowly slipping away as I walk upstairs. Certain movements I didn't want to do because I was afraid my knee wasn't stabilized, or my shoulder was going to pop out, or it just wasn't there, and it was slowly slipping away. And we see this with not only people getting older, but we see this with a lot of the young athletes that are coming up, that they're not in the greatest shape. Like, we got some young kids in the gym, man. They're great hitting the bag, but you put them in some of the drills, they can't do sit-ups and push-ups, some of them.
A lot of them are missing core strength, and, it's unfortunate. These kids have been born into this era, and they've just been handed technology without us realizing what the real repercussions are of this.
But do you think part of it is just technology, or, look, I don't want to shit on anybody, or is the personal training out there so generic, people don't go deep enough?
I can't talk about anybody either in that regard. I am a big fan of a sprint coach called Fred Duncan, and he talked about how coaching's chicken soup, right? So you have your way of making chicken soup, and I have my way of making chicken soup. But I look at, again, I keep going back to these foundational strength movements. I think about you as a baby, as this little bag of meat and bones, and you go from there to standing upright. And it's quite incredible how movement creates brain cells and strength. So, a lot of the kids don't know the basics, is what I would say. And then the fact that they're in this, I grew up in rural Ireland, and I felt like every weekend we were all in the local Gaelic field. We were running around playing sports. And if I drive through a neighborhood here in the US now, I never see a kid on the street playing.
No.
I feel like they're all indoors, stuck on cell phones. Maybe that's just been me being a, older person now, like, looking back.
No, the dynamic changed. Okay, look, growing up, I'm with you. We were out playing no matter what. Yeah. Playground, fields, whatever, every day, rain, snow, it didn't matter. We were outside.
Yeah.
There was nothing. And you know what? Whether you played a sport or not, if everybody was playing basketball. If everybody was playing football, you played football. It wasn't one-dimensional.
It wasn't on. You look at, it's just me. I hear problems, right? Health problems all day, but never in my lifetime have I heard as many young people with knee problems, hip problems, knee injuries, injuries. It's kind of abnormal. And
but
again,
it goes back to the same thing, G. whether we were playing an organized activity, we were running around being active as kids. You know, you were running around, chasing, running, playing games with movement. So you would come home, you know, tired from, you know, being out all day. You weren't just standing there looking, you know, your kids are standing there looking at their phones now all day long. Or, you know what, they might run for a couple of minutes, or, you know, if they're not in an organized activity, they're not getting. Look, we go back to some of the things that you're doing right now, okay? You got rings in your gym, push-ups, sit-ups, eventually a rope. These are things you had to do in gym class when I was growing up. You had to climb the rope.
Yeah.
You had to hold on the rings. You had to do a chin-up or a pull-up.
Yeah.
Right? You had to do a sit-up. You had to do push-ups. Basic movements that you would, that's no longer part of physical education anymore.
No, it's not. You know, I said a lot of the time to my athletes, especially, you know, when you get so close and personal with athletes, that your health is truly part of your spiritual journey. And I don't want to sound like I'm some sort of crazy yogi or anything, but it truly is. And it's mentioned in the Bible, Corinthians 6:19, mind, body, soul. You hear it in all the yoga studios in the world, mind, body, soul. And, you know, if I just ask you about prior to me and you working together, your sciatic, you know, where did you feel? But you feel more aligned now and more in tune with yourself. And a lot of people head into old age a mess with a lot of money in the bank, a lot of wealth, and they realize at that age that the one thing that can't be purchased is your health. Your health has to be earned. And no one can force you to do it. I can't do the exercises for you. All I can do is guide you to it. So
yeah, you know, you gotta buy into it, like, you know, an athlete, and you gotta buy into it, and it becomes, like you said, now it's a lifestyle. Now, okay, you start feeling good, and then you look back and you say, man, I don't want to go back to where I was.
you live in fear of it.
I don't want to go back to where I was. And, you know, you start making little changes of everything you're doing, right? So you go from, you know, one extreme of not eating well, not training, not taking care of your body, to now it's like, okay, watch what you eat a little bit. You know, make sure you get your training in. You know, trying to be that whole, not so much spiritual, but kind of live the life. And I think for us as coaches, it's important, and you talk about this, that you have to be able to walk the walk a little bit with your athletes. You know, look, it's different when you're an older guy compared to a 19, 20-year-old athlete. You're not going to be able to do the same things. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Time, you know, is going to catch you a little bit, right? But if you can move and you can do certain things and, you know, jog or run or be in the ring with them, and look, that speaks volumes, I think.
Absolutely. I would rather be a 75-year-old guy that can do pull-ups
Yeah.
than a 75-year-old guy that's borderline crippled with a lot of money in the bank. And that's to be, you know, I as we get older, we get lonelier. So I want to be the guy that can go pack groceries at a grocery store and chat to people all day, if that's the case. But I do want to have my health about me going into old age. That is, it's personally important for me, and it's one that it's truly a blessing as a coach to watch other. It's a privilege to be part of other people's journey, and to watch like you. I you know, a lot of times you don't see your own improvement, but like for instance, we trained this morning, and to see you doing a backward lunge, like that's massive progress in 16 weeks, massive progress. To see you squat jumping, to know that in September you had sciatic, that you couldn't get off the floor. To see, you know, I work with various older gentlemen and ladies, and to see them like set their 1 mile record on a rower, like, man, you can't buy that type of energetic exchange. You cannot buy it. That's, for me, that's like winning $1 million, watching someone, knowing that someone is, I call it the mental ice cream, right? When you leave my gym, after you're done training with me, you get on the drive home, you get to enjoy your mental ice cream, I call it. So,
But that's you know what? That's the sign of a good coach. A good coach who, we've seen the evolution together with fighters, athletes, where, from the start to fight night, and, we've won and lost, and, we see from where they start and those little battles, little battles as they progress. And I think, not only on the professional level, but as a coach, you got to have that. Like you said, you got to look, we're not always coaching professional athletes. We're coaching amateurs. We're coaching kids. We're coaching everyday people, adults, women, business people. So to watch them, especially in the boxing end, which, like, I had this conversation with someone last night, and they've been boxing 3 months, is an older gentleman. And I'm like, look, this is not easy. The fact that you come, you show up, you do your workout. And, we had a good breakthrough last night. Like, you're making progress. You may not feel it, like just what you say. We don't see the progress that we're working as, but when a coach can say, okay, man, I see your conditioning's got better. You're able to punch better. Your form is better. You're picking up. That's meaningful. That's like, look, I always say it. Coaching the pro athletes is the cherry. Coaching a guy for a pro fight, that's the cherry, okay? But when you can take somebody from the beginnings where really they might not know much, or, they really need a coach to get them from point A to point B, that's when, in my eyes, you become a successful coach, when you could do that.
yeah, it's, me and you both have lived camps together, like locked up in the same house for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Man, it's not easy to get up at 5 a.m.
And that's the other thing, right, G?
Yeah.
Look, you're an all-in guy like me. You coach all in. Whether you're coaching somebody to get ready for a fight, or you're coaching a client, you're coaching a young kid, an adult, whatever, you're all in. Look, you're in the gym every morning, 5:30, 5 o'clock. You run your day like that, whether you have a client or not. And, it's not easy to coach at times. It's not easy, just like the athletes. We get frustrated. We want to say, fuck it. We don't want to get up some mornings. We're tired. Days run into days. But you know what? It's always that little bit of something that sparks it. It says, damn, I did something. I made a little breakthrough. I made a difference with somebody somewhere.
Yeah, you just don't know. I've had this discussion with Ian Patterson many times, and you don't know the repercussions of your positivity. I can only coach someone and hope that I leave a positive fingerprint on their life. And, success in whatever sport they're applying themselves at, that's magnificent. But, I recently received a text message from someone I coached, I think 4 or 5 years ago. It just completed a rucking event. And they said that, it was a very heartfelt message, but they give me thanks for something I said to them 4 years ago that transpired in this rucking event that they were participating in. And to me, again, these are priceless moments that you sit back and take a little satisfaction from. That, you don't know what kid is walking into that gym, into Champs Boxing Gym. I don't know what person's coming into FarmStrength. I don't know if that person is the next Floyd Mayweather. Hell, I don't even know if they might solve world peace. But if they can leave that gym and be like, Coach G, Coach Dave steered me on that right path. You don't know what problem that kid or that athlete is going to solve down the road.
And the thing with that too is like talking about, look, society is in turmoil right now. We have kids coming in. We don't know what they're going through. It's a different dynamic. You have kids being bullied. You have kids that are coming out of COVID that are not used to being active, that are not used to being pushed. And when I say pushed, I mean pushed to be better. Not pushed in the sense of, oh, you got to work harder. No, we're pushing you to be better, to challenge yourself to be better. And, we have kids on medication. We have kids that are in no shape physically whatsoever. Their eating habits are horrible. There's so, family dynamics, which, as we coach, we start to understand all this stuff as we get closer to the people we're coaching because we spend so much time. So now you have to take all of that into account as you're coaching, right? And to your point of putting a fingerprint on somebody that says, look, because not everyone's going to be a pro athlete. Not everyone's going to compete. Okay? But if they could walk away and say, man, I did something that helped me at school, helped me in my job, helped me in life. That's definitely, and, I assimilate that to boxing. Boxing is life. It's not all, ice cream every day. We get knocked down, we got to get up. You get knocked down in life, stuff happens to us every day, family, jobs, finances, whatever the case may be. You got to get back up. And every day is not a good day. You can train and you know what? It's not your day, but you know what? You get to come back and do it again.
It's, I hear, as a coach, as I say, you hear it all.
No.
But,
we think we hear it all because then somebody else comes in and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, you hear something else.
Something else.
But, I always say to someone, I can make you one promise. The healthier you get, the better your life will get. Providing you stick to the natural ways of getting healthy. You put the hard work in. You don't cut corners. You have a little bit of discipline. And you get up, you go to the gym. You don't back out on yourself. Try to execute discipline of the mouth. And by what I mean by that is food-wise.
Yeah.
I am not a nutritionist, but as I like to say, try to stick to food that God made. If you're not eating God's food, you're stealing off the devil's plate. So, if you execute them little bits of discipline in your life and look after your body, your life will get better. It is a guarantee. That's one thing I guarantee is as you get healthier, your life will get better. And, you did say something there that it reminded me of a story in Costa Rica, actually. I was dropping a kid off after a hard training session. And I dropped him off, and just before he got out of the car, I said to him, that was a hard session, make sure you go in and take a cold shower, it'll help with muscle recovery. And the kid turned back and said to me, what makes you think I've got a warm shower? He'd never taken, didn't have the luxury of warm showers.
Yeah.
So it's just something you take for granted. And we live in this age where it's just ice bath, cold water, this. But really and truly, there's athletes out there that don't even have warm water. But that's the world we live in, is these kids, how can we help them? Adults, how can we help them? So it's truly a gift.
You hit a point, we live in an age, and look, we're fortunate, right?
Yep.
We're fortunate, right? Need an ice bath? We have places we could send it, Go get an ice bath. You need sauna? Yeah, sauna. You need therapy for your body? Yeah, therapy, rub down, massage, pool. It's all at our fingertips. But with everything being at our fingertips today, we still don't find that balance. You still see it. We see it. Our technology and what is out there to prepare an athlete at any level, whether it's a kid going to Little League Baseball or a professional athlete getting ready to fight, is so vast. You're an advocate of it. You sit down, you do your research. We're going to get a fighter together. Okay, you do your thing, I do my thing. We sit down, we put it together, right? We go on the internet, we look at stuff, see what we're going to need. Okay, what does the athlete need? Is he hurt? Does he need a certain type of training? What's his nutrition? If we're not, we find a nutritionist if we need to, but it's all there. But yet, we still fail to do it all the time, individually.
Yeah. we live in the age of information. I have had this discussion with quite a few coaches now, and that's where it goes back to what you asked me earlier, how I resonate with an athlete. It's my energy, I think, is
Right.
what sets me apart
It's another part of it.
with an
You're
athlete.
100% right.
Can I resonate with that person? Because really and truly, if you want to be the next Michael Jordan, or you want to be the next Kobe, or whatever high level athlete, you can literally jump on ChatGPT now and get a summarization of how they lived their life. You can again, but the one requirement is on your end, you have got to put the work in. You have got to get up early. You have got to want it. You've got to not kid yourself and not BS yourself. And when you get that, there's a path there for you to now follow. Of course, you will have your own personal problems to overcome. We all have our own personal problems to overcome. But in the age of information, there is no longer any excuse. You can see what the effects of sugar are, what the effects of a poor diet are. You can see what the benefits are to getting up early. The information is there now. It's all there. So it boils down to discipline and motivation now with young athletes, and what they're, I keep saying, me and you've had many a discussion about it, but we're heading into an era where a lot of jobs are probably going to go. There's not much point dancing around that fact, but it's also an opportunity for people to get their health back on track. So it is for them to,
look, I have my reasons, right? And we've talked about this. Age is totally different. I'm with you. I mean, I want to be able to move around for as long as I can move around. I don't care what the number is, right? 2 years ago at 60, I fought a 3-round smoker. Why? Because I wanted to do it for myself. I want to do it for myself. I wanted to go through the training. I wanted, had I had you here, it would have been an easier process. But, today, you're right, we have the knowledge, right? So whereas in our generation, men died younger.
Yeah.
They smoked, they drank, they didn't take care of themselves. Health care wasn't what it is today. Or maybe you lived in a rural area where there wasn't a lot of health care. You were forced to go to work every day, whatever. Not forced, but you went to work every day, families and stuff like that. Now, like you said, we have information. Okay, I want to live longer. Okay, how? Well, don't smoke, don't drink, eat a healthier diet, eat a healthier lifestyle, do this, exercise, and you're on your road right there, how you apply it. But it comes down to the application. All this knowledge is great, right? And I'll go back to look, when I was growing up, my parents bought a set of encyclopedias, World Book. I remember it like it was, that was the information highway. You needed to get information on something, you had to go to the encyclopedia, or you had to go to the library to read and research it and really look at it, okay? Today, like you said, we go on our phone. Hey, Google, I need information on, how am I going to train for this, a marathon? What's my training? I'm 150 pounds. What should I be doing? Boom. And you got a whole blueprint, but you still got to apply that blueprint. You still got to apply it. And that's where, looking at athletes today, young athletes to athletes going up, the ones that are successful take the blueprint and run with it and make it their own canvas after that. Okay? But some of these younger athletes growing up here today are not applying anything. And I think that comes down to coaching, mentorship, teaching.
Absolutely. You know yourself that when you pull up to the gym to meet an athlete, if he's there waiting on you, you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You automatically know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
If you're standing waiting on an athlete, you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You automatically. Because for me personally, if I pull up at the gym and you're already there, or I've scheduled to meet you at 9 o'clock and you walk in the door at 8:45, 8:50, my energy immediately goes up. So you're going to get 150% from me. But if the minute it starts getting to meeting you at 9 and it's 9:05, it's 9:10, the energy exchange I talk about is no longer a fair trade. So my level has dropped off, and that's an effort.
It's effort, but let's take it to another look, right? You do that at a job, what happens?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be at work at 9. Okay, you show up at 9:05. It might get overlooked, right? You start showing up at 9:10, 9:15, 9:20. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
They're going to say, what are we doing here? So where is the coach going to get excited with somebody that doesn't really put an emphasis on themselves? Because, look, we're there to coach.
Yeah.
Right? 9 o'clock session? Yeah, you should be there at 8:45 getting ready. We start at 9 o'clock. Not get there at 9 o'clock and then, you know what I mean? So if the athlete can't be excited, how can the coach be excited?
Exactly. It's an energy trade, man. And the longer you stand waiting around, you already know that what your plan is already gone up the left. What you had in mind for that session, it's already under pressure. So the minute it's under pressure, then it's not a fair exchange. So, we talk about this blueprint for success, about the information is there. It is. And as I said at the start of this, it requires that little bit of discipline. It requires the farmer strength attitude that you have to get up as the rooster crows.
Yeah, you get that text at 4:45 with the rooster and the farmer strength on it. So let's talk about you and farmer strength now that you're here. And, you're definitely in a different dynamics than being in the jungle of Costa Rica. And, what you did there with, Hermosa Boxing and all the guys down there and Coach Pancho and everybody else, great success with those guys. It showed. But now you're in a little wider dynamic of not just fighters that you're dealing with all sorts of athletes and personal people. What do you see for farmer strength now that you're here in the States, you got a little taste of it, and what are you looking at as far as your goals for farmer strength?
Farmer strength has always run on the simple thought, and that was I want to turn this into an apparel brand that think Carhartt meets Gymshark. Okay. But a holistic fitness brand, and I mean natural strength. No corner cutting. I want the brand to live and breathe discipline, consistency. And I want to turn it into an apparel brand that can complete the circle of love and can continue to educate and coach the youth for free. That's the real dream of this brand. I am a very simple human being.
Right.
And I know this podcast goes out to a lot of people. And if there is anybody out there can guide me, I am all ears.
Listen, I think that's what makes us, because, look, we're similar in a sense. It's like, look, at the end of the day, if we don't know, we don't know, right? We're going to find an answer, right? We're going to, look, if we're training a kid or an adult, an athlete, whatever it is, and it's like, listen, we want the best to make ourselves better. I don't care whose idea it is. If you turn to me and say, hey, coach, maybe we should look at it this way, and we sit down and it's going to benefit our team, let's do it.
Absolutely. The circle of love. So I start this apparel brand, and it already is. It's up and running. I sell stuff. I print on demand, but I want to get to the point where I'm manufacturing a high quality item of clothing. I do need help with that. I'm all ears. I did split the company into Farmer Strength Lifestyle and Apparel and Farmer Strength Fitness and Performance. I'm very well aware that a lot of the fitness and performance side of this is attached to me and my energy directly. So that part's a little more trickier to figure out. But the brand itself can eventually will go into Farmer Strength Meals, Farmer Strength Minerals, Farmer Strength Apparel, and basically shoot for the stars in every aspect of it. Why can it not be the next Nike? Why can it not be the next Gymshark? with the athletes that I've attracted in with Manley, with the Felizes, with Josiah, these kids could be the next Michael Jordans of their sport.
Right.
So they could. So why can I not? Like, as I say, if I jump on now and look at how Nike done business all them years ago, that was just someone with a dream that took a chance on an athlete, and all
Phil
of a sudden,
Knight was selling sneakers out of his trunk of his car.
yeah,
You know?
it was just someone with a dream, just like me, and I'm just going to chase that same dream just as hard. And what FarmStrength embodies, again, is a natural approach to health and fitness. And the eventual dream is that one day I live on a farm where athletes come to stay with me, to train, to learn about everything from breath work to nutrition, to strength and conditioning, to the whole lifestyle. And that the apparel company itself generates enough income that we can go out into the world and help children in less fortunate communities, and really teach them one of the most important things that should be taught to a young child, and that is how to look after yourself. Like, you know, what proper posture is, what these foundational exercises are, so that when they hit middle age or later in life, they're not, they know what to do. They know what to do. You know, I've talked to you in the past, and my own father has Parkinson's disease. And it's tough to watch someone not know basic exercises like squatting, like bird dogs, like front crawl, like rolling over, rocking, rolling, just because he was never taught it. And now, as he heads into retiring age, these tools are invaluable. They're absolutely invaluable as to what they could do for his Parkinson's.
Yeah, I mean, look, we see it with the gentleman in our gym. You're working with him Saturday, our friend Randall, and look, just the little bit of work that you could see the improvement in him, and, you know, helping him to feel better where, you know, he's not in pain and he feels a little stable and he's stronger. And it goes back to, look, it keeps going back to education, okay? And I'm not here to crap on any personal trainer, because we know as coaches there's levels of coaches and trainers and everything in every individual. There's, you know, some coaches are, you know, they're great coaches, but they're not good teachers. Some coaches are not great coaches, but they're good teachers. You know, but it goes down to education. You know, there's so many levels to training out there today, but I still see movement is movement, fundamentals is fundamentals, okay? And I think we get away from that out there. And, you know, you find it, myself as a coach, sometimes you got to reel yourself in because you just become so generic sometimes, and, you know, you got to take a step back. But I think in the sense of training, for physical training, mental training, the education needs to be better out there. I think too many gyms just let people train because they go and take the test online and they're a personal trainer.
Yeah. You know, we live in a world now, you know, statistically, right, 65% of the US is obese. The diabetes is through the roof as well. So,
and we know this. We know the facts, right? We know the facts,
Yeah.
right? Look, you talk about that, right? Obesity and diabetes, right? What is the first thing, right? Go back to our roots. It's easy for you to go through the drive-thru and get food anywhere today. You can get anything through a drive-thru. So people are hustling, they're bustling, they got kids, they're running around, boom. It's right there.
It's, you know, it's, at the end of the day, if I go back to 65% obese, diabetes through the roof, it's kind of a fruitful time to be a trainer. The problem that I see is you go online and it's everybody's selling this like 60-day abs or whatever you want to call it.
Quick fix. Everybody's selling a quick fix.
The quick fix. And there is no quick fix. And then, 60, 70% of these fitness coaches online are not been through and honest. They're injecting testosterone. They're on some form of a steroid. And they're not been through to their clients in regards to, you cannot become He-Man in 4 weeks. You're lucky if you'll be there in 12 months.
Look, I'm 16 weeks with you.
Yeah.
30 pounds down.
Yeah.
I never, in the beginning, we think of the journey, right? How am I going to do it? And I'm going to tell you, I'm one of those guys too, man. 16 weeks. If you told me I need 16 weeks and I'm going to lose 30 pounds, I'm going to tell you, that's too long. I don't have 16 weeks. How are we going to make this quicker? But you got to go through the process. I had to have the starting point with you, which was, one thing, speaking, you got to be humbled. Okay. It's like if you got a drinking problem, you got to say to yourself, I can't drink. So if you're not in shape, you got to say to yourself, I'm not in shape. I think I'm in shape, but I'm not in shape. Dude, I could lift. When I went with you, I was like, wow, I can't do this. I can't do the simplest movements that I thought I could do.
Yeah, we as human beings, we get stuck in ski slopes.
Yeah.
So we do. So our brain gets stuck in these patterns. And I see it all the time. I see guys that want to use the gym, and they come in and they do a couple of reps in the bench press and a couple of squats, and they think they're in shape.
Mm-hmm.
And I've asked a couple of people to jump into a workout with me, and they've done a very, very basic conditioning session. And after 8 to 10 minutes, they're on the floor and they're gassed and they're rolling around questioning things. And it's because they got stuck in that ski slope, in that groove. And even as a coach, I have to be careful of it the way I train. I walk in and I just do presses. Yeah, I have to catch myself. I've got to be aware that you got to change it up. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to callous the mind. And it's one of the huge dangers.
Well, you just said the magic word. We got to get out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And to become bulletproof, and you read the books and you listen to everybody Goggins, comfort zone is what kills us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comfort zones kills us. Look, it's human nature, right? We're working hard our whole lives, right? You're working. You get to the point, you're doing a little well. We all take our foot off the gas a little bit. I don't need to train today. You know what? I could eat a little extra today. I could do this today. And then before you know it, it's out there.
Yeah. It's, you can, I like to say life's a tightrope. You're walking this tightrope. And we all slip off it, myself included.
Listen.
But as long as I keep one hand on that rope, I can get back up again.
We're not absolved, and that's the thing. Like, it goes back to the thing of being honest with yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, you know what, I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. All right. It's what we do after we make the mistakes is what counts. How do we get back on the horse?
Yeah.
Do we get back on the horse? Do we fall and stay down? Do we get back up? Do we try? And all of that stuff that is going on. But, right now, let's talk about FarmStrength a little bit more. You're doing classes. You're doing one-on-ones. You're offering breath work. You're offering this full body type of workout, mind, everything. Tell us a little bit about where we can find you. We're going to kind of wrap up here a little bit, but tell us right now where you're at. People need to make an appointment with you, a consultation.
So over the next week, you should actually see some Facebook ads shooting out there. I'm just about to start launching some ads. You can find me at www.farmerstrength.com. I am located right next door to Champ's Boxing Gym over on East Liberty Street. What my program offers is strength and conditioning classes in the AM and at night. I do work with a select number of athletes, but when I work with an athlete, we have to sit down, we have to talk. There has to be a fair energetic exchange. I am actively looking for people to that I want to help and they want to help my brand grow. With athletes, I am definitely limited, the amount of people that I work with, because you can, at the end of the day, you can only give so much of that
Right.
energy away.
Yeah.
I offer breathwork classes every Wednesday. So today would be a recovery day under my program. And then on a Sunday, since I arrived here, it's 10K every Sunday. I try to run a park that offers a 5K and 10K option. And I've been running with several of the fighters from Champs Boxing Gym.
Yeah, and then, look, on Sunday you can meet Coach G at the gym at Champs Boxing.
Yeah.
And he's there at 8 o'clock. Well, don't meet him at 8 because he'll be in the car leaving at 8.
Yeah.
And you can run with him and be out there. What have you haven't missed one since you've been here, right?
I actually haven't missed. If I total it up in between Costa Rica and Danbury, I'm over 1,800 kilometers.
Yeah, but running in
Costa
Costa Rica is running in paradise, bro. You were out here on some cold mornings in the snow, ice, and
yeah,
it was a little challenging a couple of the mornings on Sundays out here.
It was challenging, but hey, this place has a phenomenal amount of beautiful parks, beautiful outdoor conditions. You get the opportunity to run in 12 inches of snow, 3-4 times a year if you're lucky. So it's kind of a gift.
Yeah.
And I've had James and Mitch out there with me consistent, which has been awesome.
Every Sunday, the post up, look on FarmStrength.com. Coach G will be posting up. And then look, we want some input and some questions from people after this episode. So if you have some questions of stuff and topics pertaining to health, to training, to coaching, please reach out to Coach G or myself. My Instagram is Coach David Champs Boxing. You could email me. You could text me. You can direct message me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. Coach G also. Give us some topics, because we're going to do like a once a month wrap up here talking about specific items pertaining to training, health, nutrition, and life in itself. And it's going to gear around how to bulletproof yourself. There's a lot of, good stuff going on, and I'm speaking from firsthand. So, when you believe in the product, it kind of makes it easier to talk about, and you can talk about your experience. And trust me, I believe in the product, and I'm excited to see where I'm going to be in another 15 weeks with, Coach G. And, I've made some changes on my personal level in my life, and, I feel it. I really feel it. But, please give him a look at, FarmStrength.com. Reach out to him, even if it's for a consultation. Go talk to him if you're suffering from back pain, if you're out of shape, if you're an athlete. If you're an athlete and you want a game changer, he's a game changer. Okay, whatever sport you're playing. But definitely reach out to him. He is definitely not your everyday trainer in the area. You get personal instruction in a clean, safe environment, and you're going to be challenged. Coach G, I really appreciate, your friendship and, everything you've done for me and, all our fighters. And I look forward to really, what the future brings, because I think it's bright. And I think if you're not taking advantage of this man, you're just, you're missing out on something special, whether you're an athlete or an individual who needs some direction in their conditioning, or it's a full package. But really, really appreciate you. And, I look forward to going on some more talks here to see where we can, help some people out there. And,
No, thank you for having me again. I'm extremely grateful to yourself, to AJ Galante up at Champs Boxing Gym, and to the community that have just welcomed me with open arms. Leaving Costa Rica to come back to the US felt slightly intimidating.
Yeah.
And now I feel like
you're home. You're
feel
back.
like I'm home.
You're in the right spot. And look, you have some. Look, and not just from me. You know what? You'll hear testimonies from people that he's working with. Maybe you think I'm a little biased, but you'll hear testimonies. And look, Farmer Strength is a sponsor of Coach's Corner podcast. check out his website. Look at the apparel. He's got some really, really cool stuff out there. Some really, really good stuff coming out in the future here. So, please check that out. You could support him there also. You'll start to see the FarmStrength shirts and hats popping around with our athletes. Some pretty good logo, pretty good gear. We're both wearing it right now. And you know what? Till our next podcast, I'm Coach Dave McDonough. Train hard, train smart, and we'll see you in the next round.